I used to think a case study is where you show your best screens, the clean UI, the polished flows, the final outcomes. But over the time, I realized something very uncomfortable. The screens are the least interesting part of your project. What's actually interesting and what founders, PMs, and senior managers or designers really look for is how you think when things are unclear, messy, and slightly broken. A case study is not an art gallery of your work, guys. It's a story of how your thinking evolved when you are doing that project. If your case study starts with the hero section, mockups, and gradients, this is for you. I In the previous video, I shared a story of how a small feature request exposed a much deeper problem in the system. That video is in description, you may check it out. That video was about the problem, but this is about something more important. How I converted that messy journey into highly standard case study for my portfolio. And I'm telling you, this was from my personal experience. I have switched my companies twice as a product designer, and every single time, my portfolio was the main entry point for every opportunity. Whenever I wanted a better opportunity, the first place I visit, not the LinkedIn, not even the job portals, but my portfolio. For the last 2 years, I have moved from having a very basic portfolio to being extremely intentional about what goes inside it. And this time, I'm not just adding projects, I'm calculating what is important to show that actually matters to the people reviewing it and what truly represents how I think as a designer. So in this video, I am going to share that exact thinking with you. So let's begin. So, we were taught to present projects in a very clean order. The problem, solution, screens, and done. But the real projects never happen like that. We all know. Real projects happens like this. What will happen? First, there is a confusion. Then there are wrong assumptions every time. Then there's a lot of digging. Then a moment of clarity. Then the structure, the UI, the impact, and then what? Then the learnings. And I realized my case study should follow this exact journey, not the fancy order, but the honest order. So instead of starting my case study with screens, I started with the mess. What was not working? What was confusing for me at that point? What felt off? Because that is where design actually begins. Design does not begin with Figma opens. Design begins when something doesn't make sense. I was not solving design at this stage. I was trying to understand why things were breaking. Then I did something most designers avoid in their portfolios. Any guesses? I showed where I was wrong. What I misunderstood at the beginning, what I assumed without questioning it. And this changed the quality of my case study completely. Because now it wasn't the story of look how smart I am. It became a story of look how my thinking evolved. And that's what makes a case study feels more superior. After showing the confusion and the wrong assumptions, I showed where I find the clarity. What I read, what I explored, what I studied, and documentations, the system flows, the support issues, the articles, and the other product behavior. Because good design decisions don't come from inspirations. They come from understanding. I would suggest less dribble, more reading. At some point during the project, something clicked. And that moment is the turning point of the entire case study. The moment where the problem finally made sense. And I made sure that this moment is very clearly visible in my portfolio, because this is where the story shifts from confusion to the clarity. Only after that insight, I start showing structures, the flows, the diagrams, the system thinking. Because once the thinking is clear, the UI becomes obvious. And this is where the most portfolios goes wrong. They show UI without showing the thinking that shaped it. Now, when the screens appear in this case study, they don't feel decorative. They feel inevitable. They feel like the only possible outcome of the thinking you just saw. After that, I showed what changed. Real outcomes, real improvements, and the real impact. Because facts make your story trustworthy. Screens just make it pretty, but outcomes make it believable. And finally, I ended the case study with what this project taught me. Not what I did, but what I understood. Because that is what people hiring you actually want to know. So if you look at any strong case study, it will have these parts. First, the messy beginning, the wrong assumptions, the research, the insights, the structure, the UI, the impact, the learnings, in that order. So, if your case study looks too clean, you probably remove the most important part, the confusion. Because that's where the real design happened. Don't try to show how smart you are. Show how you became smart during this project. By the way, I have put up the whole case study from the project we discussed in the previous video, the one around the refund problem, on my portfolio. It's a bit long, I accept that, but that's intentional because real thinking takes space to explain. If you get some time, do check it out, and I would genuinely love to know what you think about it, because I'm always open to take feedback, because that's exactly how these case studies keep getting better. And after this video, open your portfolio and ask yourself, does it show the screens or does it show the thinking? Till then, stay safe, stay healthy. I will meet you in the next video. Namaskara.